Well, it's not just the airlines having problems. The vaccine mandate-induced labor shortage also affecting nurses, teachers, and now the police. In Seattle, city officials are preparing to fire 40% of its entire workforce for refusing to get the shot by next Monday's deadline. And our next guest is warning residents are going to pay the price. Here now is Mike Solon, Seattle Police Officers Guild president. Mike, great to see you. Thank you for being here. Now, hasn't the defund the police movement already caused a shortage of police in your city?
Well, indeed it has, David, and we've lost up to 350 cops since the defund nonsense started. And basically, Seattle was the epicenter of that defund nonsensical activism. But if we lose more cops, say we lose 150 or even more than that, I can't state how bad this will be to our 911 response in terms of getting somebody to fill the uniform to meet your 911 call.
Yeah.
It is appalling what's happening here. And I can't for the life of me understand what the end game is, as 85% of the Seattle populace is vaccinated. Majority of our SPOG members are vaccinated.
Right.
But here we are again, and our 911 response will be critically impaired if we fire any cops over this mandate.
Well, just to put it in perspective, you have a workforce now of officers, just over 1,000 officers for a city of 750,000 people. That's 1/3 of what New York has per resident in terms of police officers. New York has about 35,000 officers. So for you to go much below what you're already limited to because of all the defund the police nonsense, I mean, essentially, you're going to have crimes that you won't have enough police officers to answer for.
Well, it'll be like the running of the bulls, but with criminals here in Seattle, with no law enforcement to have an adequate stopgap between the lawlessness that's already here. And what I've heard a lot of people say, and I think that there's some semblance of reasonableness here, is that since we led the effort in the defunding nonsense where the council pledged 50%, our campaign against that got it down to 20, which I think was good for our people and our community. But I think what this is another extension of the defunding nonsense where they're just going to remove cops.
Well, it may be, but specifically on the vaccine mandate, does the city allow for any exemptions, either for natural immunity or for some other physical problems?
Well, we're still in the bargaining process to come up with our version of what a reasonable accommodation looks like. But when I was approached by the mayor's office in terms of this mandate, when I asked them, what about those officers that have natural immunity that have beaten COVID?
You're one of them, by the way, aren't you?
Yes, I am. And their response to me was it's not backed up by science.
Well, we actually have, after you, we have Dr. McCary coming on, who shows that it is backed up by science. So you should listen to what's coming up because it might help you in your debate. Any movement on their part, I mean, you only have a week before this goes into effect.
Yeah, we're doing everything we can to save jobs. That's our #1 goal as a union. Regardless if people are vaccinated or unvaccinated, we're not going to segregate anybody, as we've seen our division in our nation. It's that police officers were sticking together as a union, and we will fight for anybody's job because public safety, in terms of the critical crisis we're in and staffing is concerned, we're going to protect every job as possible.
But is the mayor actually giving any ground at all because you don't have much longer to negotiate?
Well, if this Thursday is another opportunity for us to hear from the city as they're looking it over our proposal, and hopefully some common sense with doing the right thing is in their response.
What about the people of Seattle? I mean, obviously they have elected leaders who are supposed to make their decision. Are they okay with the fact that that because of this vaccine mandate, they may end up with essentially not enough police to answer simple criminal calls?
Well, I think their main concern is the public safety crisis we're already experiencing here in Seattle. Now you couple with almost 350 cops gone because of the political trail by our elected leaders who just before Floyd said we were the modeled reformed agency. Now you mention that we could possibly lose 100 to 200 cops. I think people are really concerned about where we are in terms of public safety in the city of Seattle. Your 911 call could be drastically impaired if we fire any more cops.
Is there any chance for a recall, or is there any petition for a recall of the mayor to get some new blood in there so that you can finally get some people in power that you could talk to?
Well, in November, we're going to be seeing a new mayor take over, and hopefully we have someone that gets into office that is in terms of supporting the police and funding us properly and recruiting and retaining more officers. I have yet to hear a plan for retaining the current officers that are here. What I hear is more, let's get rid of people that don't comply.
Yeah, yeah. Well, by the way, we're going through the same thing in New York. We have an off-year election in November this year as well, and hopefully the next mayor is going to be somebody who's a lot more cooperative with the police force than Mayor de Blasio was, because this has just been a disaster. The crime is running rampant in New York, as it is in most cities, not coincidentally, I think, run by Democratic mayors. We wish you the very best. Good luck to you and to the people of Seattle. I know what you're going through because, again, a lot of the country's going through exactly the same. Mike, thank you for being here. Appreciate it.
Thanks, David.